Greetings, Dot people. Welcome to the DotPro Show, where we cover all pro news you will ever need to hear. Please go to no other outlets for any information, just us. Only listen to us. Today, we will be bringing you today shut the fuck up. We will be bringing you information regarding WESG. That's kind of like the most recent big tournament, the qualifiers for DAC that just took place in China, and some of the controversy around some horrendous garbage that took place. What else we got on the docket, Cyphus? You know anything?
I got an email from a listener, and I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, we're also I guess I was going to say some other stuff, but that'll mostly tie into WESG. All right. So do you want to get into the big juice first?
Yeah, I'd love to, because that's a bit of pro news that I managed to catch, courtesy everybody's favorite news outlet, the one that they're not supposed to go to, only listen to us. But yeah, perusing Reddit. There was a pretty controversial thread up at the top about Axe, who you and I spoke about last week, being the first female pro Dota 2 player to kind of make a mark on the scene. Yes. You care to summarize it?
Sure. Well, we'll lay some groundwork first. So as everyone knows, if you're unaware of this, well, it's a good thing you're listening to the show.
Yeah.
There's a DAC was a tournament that ran not last year but the year before, around like right when the new EG with Sumail and the new and Team Secret or I guess version 2.0 of Team Secret first came around.
Yeah,
who can even keep track of version control anymore?
Wasn't it the version of Secret that everybody, like, going into, was it TI5? Yeah, it was TI5. Everybody was like, oh yeah, it's Secret.
Yeah.
Secret's gonna win. Yep, that's the
that was the one with RTZ and Zai and all that business. Yeah, so that was like a hype tournament for all these like roster. Like everyone was seeing new rosters for the first time.
Oh, speaking of controversy, it's where we got that tweet from PPD that one less ego, one more championship.
Yeah, God, what a beautiful time. God, man, I wish we still had PPD on. I mean, he's on a team again, but God, his salty tweets are the greatest.
Yeah, they really were.
Anyway, so a little bit of history. DAC was the first kind of non-Valve sponsored event that could kind of rival a TI, hitting that $1 million prize pool kind of business.
Got its own compendium.
Yeah, got its own compendium, which was cool. Like there were some other tournaments that had like little joke compendiums, like that was a fad for a while. But those are largely gone now that everyone has a battle pass. But yeah, like DAC was kind of the first, and it's not exactly a third tier tournament because it was made by like Perfect World, and Valve did have some hand in it. But it was essentially like China's answer to a Valve put on TI, right? Yeah. A $3 million prize pool, great crowdfunding from it, really cool sets, a lot of good stuff coming out of it. So this year, because we only have 2 majors, we have a lot more room in the scene to have another DAC again. Because DAC first happened before the majors. We had majors for the first time last year, and then there was no DAC. So this is kind of replacing what the Shanghai major was, and hopefully it'll be put on a bit better. And we've got it should be Mars TV again doing it.
Didn't Mars take a lot of shit for the tournament right before the Shanghai major, or was it the Shanghai major that it wasn't Perfect. So it was Perfect World that kind of got the heat of fucking up Shanghai, and then I thought Mars had a tough time
they got the heat because they hired what fucking awful organization,
Too Good,
whatever organization that what no there was an organization that that Ruru, who we talked about a bit ago, she had some kind of relationship to the owner of this like smaller production company that had never put on a tournament of that size. Okay. And apparently she got them the contract and they blew it up. And that's why that tournament was so garbage. But not Mars. Mars TV's been doing great. The kind of their liaison, if you will, to talk to the English scene has been God Bless Molly. And he's fucking awesome. Mal's great. Not to be confused with Mal Strix on Twitter. I think he's at God Bless Molly, and he is fucking fantastic. So that tournament ran really well, and hopefully the next one will again. The DAC was like honestly the perfect like, all right, like even if you are not Valve, you still be capable of putting on this tier event, given the resources, right? Perfect World's pretty big company, they can do shit like that. But it's cool. It's a non entirely Valve event at the very least, that can bring those kinds of numbers. So it's definitely something everyone should be excited for.
Yeah, for sure. And brought us the Dota concert, which I still haven't seen.
Right. Yeah, that comes up a lot with you.
I know. I want to see it, dude. How do you advertise a Dota concert? And I never see it. I swear I checked Reddit. I swear I was like following up on that. I brought it up several times and nobody's ever sent me a video. All these people out there listening to the DotPro show, not one of you has a video of the Dota concert. You got to send it my way. You got to send it my way if you got it.
So we have this new DAC coming up. So we have 4 invited teams. We have EG was invited, Wings was invited, OG of course, and Newbie. And then there was a Chinese qualifier, which was granted four spots. And then we have, we have a qualifier for the Americas, Southeast Asia, Europe, and CIS. And a little side note, everyone always says that Europe is always like the qualifiers to get through European tournaments are always so incredibly difficult. Like we have like Alliance didn't make it to the last major. And then there's like Liquid didn't make it, like a team with Kuroki and Miracle. I mean, like maybe obviously they didn't perform that well, hence losing. But maybe given the games, they would have been able to figure out their stuff and been a top tier team. Who's to say? Anyways, the point is that Europe is incredibly stacked in terms of like how many really strong tier 2 teams they have. And Valve announced that they were going to have now a CIS qualifier for their next major. And that would kind of deal with that issue a little bit. So we don't have to give like a bunch of European spots, and we don't have the NA qualifier with like, what was it at T? I think it was like 6 teams or something. Like we couldn't even find 8, and one of them was like Drinking Boys or something. Like really not the best. Meanwhile, in Europe, it's like, oh god, these like every Russian team is like fighting every other team, and then they can go to the Americas Open qualifiers and like burst through. It's a shit show. Anyway, so I'm glad that this trend of like actually separating out the CIS teams versus the European teams is actually like continuing. Everyone's kind of, Valve is kind of a trendsetter, and clearly this is a trend that has been set. So, kudos to that. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll have what is this? 1, 2, I guess that's six Chinese teams, and then 6 Western. Well, not even Western, Southeast Asian and CIS debatably. Anyway, 6 Chinese teams, 6 non-Chinese teams. Obviously, there's a strong regional bias on how many Chinese teams are permitted in here versus the rest. But it's an Asian tournament. That's not too surprising that they have more Asian teams or whatever. Normally, if a tournament is hosted in NA, we only have a couple Chinese teams brought over, that sort of thing. So whatever.
Yeah, so I guess to steer us back where we were headed.
Sure.
So Axe, we mentioned last week, first female player kind of to make a splash on the Dota 2 scene. She's playing with Newbie Boss, and they were competing in the qualifiers, right?
Yes, yeah. So the this new team by Newbie Boss headed by Zhao 8, notable captain, best captain in China at least ever, I would say. RTK, it's pretty great. But anyways, so they have the link for the China qualifier just got away from me here. Okay, yeah. So they had their first game, and BTS was covering it, and Xyclopz was casting it, and anyone who saw the thread, it was really bad. It was incredibly sexist. Just overall, a really unpleasant experience for, I would say, everyone involved. Like blatantly disrespectful, and it was kind of like a terrible thing that was awful. And there wasn't really anything said about it after the fact. There were some people saying things on Twitter and that sort of thing, but then afterwards there was some compilation video made that actually really coalesced it, and I didn't really watch the game, and then I watched the compilation video. I was like, okay, this is a little like saying you're gonna talk to a player like after the game to like hit on them or whatever just because, you know, it's the first time you've ever encountered like a female. That's some shit, man. Yeah, it's like not funny.
So specifically, I did not see the match, but I did see the clip that some anonymous Reddit user threw up there, or rather a series of clips from the game, and it was just it. I want to couch all this by saying that you know, BTS, specifically LD, responded to it. They definitely acknowledged it. This is not something that escaped their attention. It sounds like it was something that didn't escape their attention, you know, maybe even before it was kind of broadcast on Reddit. I think they probably would have preferred that it didn't make it to Reddit. But it was just one of those things where it's like, wow, we finally, you know, you and I were talking last week about, hey, you know, underrepresentation, right? That's a really big issue regarding gender roles, you know, all over the world, not seeing women who are, you know, in positions of power, or seeing women who are in iconic positions. I guess the word I'm looking for here really escapes me, but or in high profile positions,
sure,
doing things that other women might otherwise like to do,
getting exposure, that sort of thing.
Yeah, is a big reason why we don't see more women doing those things to begin with. It's, you know, and I don't want to sound like you know, a big social justice warrior or anything, but I do. That's fine. But it's. I think it's foolish to acknowledge or to not acknowledge that that's an issue. And I don't think we, especially in the world of esports, where the playing field should be relatively level regarding both gender representation. It's not, you know, there aren't, you know, these bullshit like physical limitation arguments that can be made. There aren't a lot of, you know.
People make them anyways, though, but it's not.
Yeah, you know, and I, you know, you can point to whatever you want to point to, or you can make whatever arguments you want to make. But let's be honest, like when it comes to video games, they are not as physically strenuous or required. And I think that's usually like go-to argument people make with sports, right, or with traditional sports. But with esports, it's like, Jesus, we have this digital platform where the best, you know, the best. You know, micromanagers, the best thinkers, the faster reaction times, those things should make for a more level playing field for both genders, for both sexes. And
yeah, even if you were to posit that there is some big biological difference, which again, there's not, it's definitely not enough to create a huge gap like this. At the very least, you have to accept it. So you have to say there's okay, so there is something happening, and the only real thing that you can point to is just different social pressures and different social contexts, and that's everything.
I would also suspect that there are some cultural influences, and I don't even mean just...
Which is, again, just a social pressure or construct.
Sure, for sure. You know, and I think a lot of that probably has to do with... you know, I mean, there are definitely strange cultural outlooks in China in particular, you know, regarding women. You know, so I can see that it's obvious that that's what's impacting it, I guess, to sum up.
Yeah,
my point.
You would have to be blind or just willfully ignorant to not accept that one of the major force that is keeping esports so like male dominated is just the way that the community and culture, you know, like global culture and gaming culture is. Like I'd love for anyone to try to convince me otherwise, because goddamn, is it just so anyway.
So all that aside, all your views aside in that regard, at the very least, I would hope that people can recognize that surely there are at least some women out there who are going to be able to compete with the men in esports in general.
Yeah, given like equal time and like, you know, effort and all that sort of thing. Sure. Yeah.
So that being said, it was just painful to watch this kind of a reaction to the first, you know, female in the scene, because it's those cultural influences. I guess it hit home for me in particular, because I feel like I'm seeing that somewhat firsthand as my girlfriend Rin starts delving into Dota 2. She refuses to use the mic. She doesn't. She's been playing for only a matter of months, and already she's had enough shitty interactions with you know, young male assholes in Dota 2.
I mean, I've had the same experience.
And she doesn't talk on the mic. She absolutely refuses to. And when she and I play together and someone is missing in our lane, she says, "Hey, let them know that so and so is missing." hey, let them know that there's a ward here. And she has me communicate that to them because she worries about the response that she'll get from fellow teammates if they hear her on mic. And it's and I know we talk a lot on the show or on this series of shows, Ursi, being one of the big, proponents of don't talk on the mic, fuck it, just use the chat wheel and all that. But it's supposed to be a game about communication. That's supposed to be where some of the fun is. And it's completely missing for a lot of female Dota 2 players. And so just to see this as the first response to a female Dota 2 player in one of her very first games, it was troubling. It was. Yeah. I guess I just don't. I mean, have we never interacted with women before? I guess it was kind of like the first thought that went through my mind. Have you never met a woman before? Is it so strange that there might be a woman playing in a game? You know what I mean? I couldn't fathom that this was the response. Which one is the girl? Which one is the girl? Referencing her as the girl.
It's like, I don't know. The thing that I guess kind of bothered me the most is coming from StarCraft. And like fucking, in my opinion, I don't follow too heavily that much right now, but like top 2 foreigners right now, like Scarlet, just the best. And when she popped onto the scene, like there was almost zero fucking like issue at all. It was immediate, just like, all right, here we go, let's cast this shit. And I think someone maybe like might have misgendered once in their entire career and then immediately apologized, and it was just like fucking bam, like it happened, we're fucking set, we're a respectful community, everything is good, no debates, no nothing. And then it happened here, and like we have, okay, cool, there's like a woman playing, and then publicly everyone's like, oh yeah, this is cool, like we're set. And then as soon as fucking push comes to shove, as soon as real shit happens and people need to like put up or shut up, immediately it's just like, no, we're sexist, it's cool.
And I know everybody's I think kind of standoffish about like throwing out labels and whatnot, like sexist. I believe Xyclopz when he says, I believe that Xyclopz, and maybe this is naive of me, but I want to believe that he did something dumb in the moment. I want to believe that in an attempt.
Here's my very. This is definitely what I think about it. And there was like some part in it where like he kind of gave some little like soapbox speech where he's like, we should be respectful and like this is just one Dota player and just treat them as a person. So like, it's not like they're completely unaware that this is what they should be doing. They just value memes over creating like a pleasant environment for other people. And I think valuing your own like, worthless shitty jokes over like being a remotely welcoming, like, or just even an enjoyable like community, or being like welcome to all, like just valuing like your shitty half-assed jokes over that's sexist. Like if you're not valuing like someone's ability to do this as their profession, or like an entire half of the fucking population, just because you want to make sure you get your shitty ass jokes out, like you are not valuing them as people. Like you're just not the only thing that you actually care about doing is making your shitty ass jokes.
Yeah. I don't want to, I don't want it to seem like I didn't expect for a caster to not acknowledge that this was the first female player. Don't get me wrong. In fact, I guess what I was more surprised about was that, and again, this is just a personal outlook, I suppose, but as I was looking at that and thinking about the duty of the caster, the role of the caster, which is to build a narrative in a game, I don't think that it was wrong to acknowledge that this was one of the first games to feature a female professional Dota 2 player. In fact, I think that's a great thing to acknowledge. But why not build the narrative in a more, I don't want to just outright say positive, but in a more wasn't there a more suspenseful narrative to be built? Like, hey, wow, here we go, first female player on the scene. We're gonna get to see how she performs. We're gonna get to see how she does here in this match, and how she hangs. And here we go. All right. Yeah, great play. Great play by Axe. Hey, great play. Oh, hey, Axe got shut out. Like, why you could acknowledge it and then continue to cast the game in a more traditional way. And that's I think almost the better way to go, like that, right? I mean, isn't that the perfect way to go? Rather that you do acknowledge it, and you do acknowledge that this is an historical event for this esport. This is a pertinent event for this esport, and acknowledging that female player will go a long way to making sure that females who are watching this recognize that, oh, hey, wow, I am seeing a female Dota 2 player here. I am seeing somebody do what I would like to do. But at the same time, you can just treat them with the same level of respect that you would any other Dota player, that you would any other pro Dota player in a match. And not that you shouldn't criticize a play, but those are all things that have to do with the match. Criticizing a play, or talking about the strength of a play, or the weakness of an item, or the weakness of a build. Those are all pertinent things to discuss that are not in and of themselves sexist. But going down that route where you're just talking about, oh, this is the girl. Oh, let's see, which one is the girl? Oh, I know how we'll figure out which one is the girl. I know we'll figure out how we'll look at her cosmetics. That will tell us who is the girl. That kind of stuff. I mean, it has no. I didn't even want to hear it. Like, that's not what I want to hear. That's not why I'm even tuning into that match. If I'm tuning into it, I want to hear the narrative. I want to hear the play-by-play. I want to hear the analysis. I do want to know that I'm watching the first female player, but I want to know that in an informational way, not in a I don't know.
It kind of reminded me when like Slacks was casting a Mongols game, and for whatever reason he thought the term Mongoloid was like, like, oh, a Chinese person was just like the equivalent of, oh, an American, a Mongol. Like, he thought that was just a word, and so he used it a lot. And then either they were like, yo, that is a fucking slur, you idiot. And then he was like, oh shit, let's deal with that and make sure that doesn't happen again. I would just have liked the same amount of like, hey, by the way, like, that's not cool, don't do that. And then, oh, we're set. But that wasn't what happened.
Yeah, it's a shame. But to BTS's credit, and I don't want to and to Xyclopz's credit, I don't want to harp on it too much and underrepresent the response that they had to it. Xyclopz was there on that thread apologizing, acknowledging that he had made a mistake, which is one of the first steps, right? That's the first step towards correcting that mistake, is acknowledging that a mistake was made. BTS, LD in particular, was on there responding and letting people know that it was unacceptable. I don't want to bash on them, because they did at least respond. Yeah. They did come out and say, yes, that's not the right thing.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, almost no one is, does kind of like bigoted, whatever your proclivities are. Like, no one's really doing bigoted stuff on purpose, right? Like, normally it's just they're painfully unaware of what kind of impact they're making. And I'm pretty sure that's what this was. Like, Xyclopz probably had absolutely no understanding that what he was doing was actually as bad as it was. And it's not just like, oh, I'm offended or whatever, but like, that literally just turns people off. Like, oh, why would I I was really excited, like maybe I would try to like go pro, because I mean, if Axe can do it, there's going to be like more people around to even like as soon as it happened, there were like a lot of notable like strong female Dota players who were like, wow, this is actually super inspiring. Like, I may actually work a lot harder now. Like, that was things that real people said. And then like to see this kind of response, like, guess what'll immediately take the fucking like wind out of someone's sails. But yeah, like, this was like actually like real harm. Like, it was actually like real bad things. But I'm sure that in the moment, like, especially given that he gave that speech that was like, we should just regard this as like, one person like sobering up for a minute and being serious, Xyclopz, like, this is like, this is good, and let's just like see how well she does. So obviously, it's not like they completely, or not like Xyclopz completely disregarded all of that and like was completely unaware of the context, but he just thought that his shitty jokes were fine, which is just not the case. It's just like tragic. People really just have no understanding of these things if they don't have like firsthand experience with them.
Yeah, and I think they'll correct it. I do think, I don't think we'll see, I would hope, especially for BTS's sake, that we don't see that sort of an issue again in future matches that are being cast, featuring Axe. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to harp on it too much more. We've done like 20 minutes on it, but
it's fine. I've got a lot else.
It was unfortunate, but again, BTS, we love BTS. They're a great organization. They do a lot of good within the community, and they I can't say enough nice things about them. And at the very least, they did respond and decide that and acknowledge that this was unacceptable.
And that's all that anyone can ask for. And it was just, Xyclopz isn't exactly one of their top tier casters, whatever. He has his like fan base and his player base, whatever. It was just maybe a pretty bad oversight to not moderate this game a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. You think it would warrant, with considering the kind of historic nature of it, it would warrant a little bit of extra, maybe QA at the time.
Yeah.
But all right, yeah, I'm ready to move on, right? Because WESG,
okay,
that wrapped up. Let's see, 2 days ago, right, or 3 days by the time folks are listening to this.
Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care.
Okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
WESG, yeah. So this tournament was pretty cool. Notable, pretty much all the teams were like full nationality teams. Some were kind of made for the tournament, like Team Ukraine with Resolution, Dendy, General, Always Want to Fly, and Art Style. Alliance and their counterpart Horde, the basically the Ake stack. The new Cloud9, which was formerly Imperial, right? This is they used to be Imperial.
I have no idea.
Am I right on this?
I sure hope so.
Yeah, Imperial, then Danish Bears, and then Cloud9. Yeah. So that team has Baby Knight on it. They did really well this tournament. Baby Knight is known as he was a Dota 1 pro player. Maybe he played Dota 2 for a little bit. But he switched over to StarCraft and was a Protoss that I watched a pretty decent amount. So it was cool to see him switch back into Dota. Now he's actually getting some success, although it took a couple years. But hey, it's a hard game. What do you expect?
Yeah.
And he's playing with Ryze, Ryze, who has pretty much been on every tier 3 EU team that I've ever seen. Pretty much all of them feature Ryze on some iteration. Like, you look at the teams he has been in, it is all of them. Like, literally every fucking team. Like, DD Dota at some point. Like, I think, was that when they...
what position does he play?
When they played it? He's support.
Okay.
Oh, God. Was this... Yeah, Was this when they played in the International 3 qualifiers? Oh, my God. Anyway. Yeah. And then oh, God. At some point, this team turned into Sigma. Anyway. What a storied player. But yeah, he's been on so many B teams, and now he's actually doing well. I like the Imperial a lot. They are basically the reason why people were playing Centaur as a 1 and sending illusions at shit right after TI6. So blame him for all that. That's or I guess them. Blame the Imperial. Yeah, so they're doing well. Full Danish team. There's a Russian stack, Comanche, Team Romania with Bone 7 and Arise, and Come With Me. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that. A few Southeast Asian full teams, like an Argentinian team played. There are a few there's an Ecuador team, a few Peruvian teams, Brazilian teams. That new I can't even pronounce this country, so I'm not going to try. But the new MVP team was there. TNC with their Filipino team, and a couple minor Chinese teams. Lakel's with his Thai team. It's a lot of cool stuff. So a lot of kind of impromptu teams, some full teams. But I mean, there were definitely a bunch of notable players there, right? Like the one of the Ukrainian teams having Resolution and Navi's 2 like cores that they kept from their previous lineup. And then Always Want to Fly in Art Style, a bunch of old school people. It's definitely a really fun tournament.
Yeah, a lot of hype around several of the matches, several of the series that were played.
Sure.
Yeah. Top prize was 800,000, and we're good to talk about the results, right?
Yeah, the prize pool for this is like, because like this tournament kind of snuck up. It's like, oh, some WESG thing. Like, what's going on here? Oh, the prize pool is $1.5 million. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Anyway, this was a real tournament, like premier tier, top tier tournament.
Yeah,
even though the teams were like kind of weird.
It was the 20th biggest esports tournament ever.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's cool.
As far as prize pools.
Stat.
As far as prize pools.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so let's go into the results a little bit. Alliance got, so we want to look at the group stage. So it starts out like most tournaments, group stage, and then the people who get first place in their groups, they get straight to the winners bracket. Second and third get into, it looks like this like losers bracket kind of deal, and then it's a standard tournament from there. So we have this to be or not to be team. What nationality were they? Well, who were they representing? That
China.
was the okay, yeah. So this is this Chinese team. Yeah, they weren't made up of like, you know, players from other teams or whatever, just straight up who they were. So that's good. Get them some exposure. God, these, I don't like recognize these teams like at all.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Okay, this is with Vaughn and shit. Yeah, so a Peruvian team, Team Dalcom, and then MVP Revolution, the new team they picked up, did okay in Group A. Cloud9, the old Imperial, I guess the new Imperial team, got first place, and then there was Team Romania, and then our boys SG. Notably the so SG, okay, it's like a Brazilian stack, that's cool. And then Alliance got first place in their group, followed by a Chinese team, Dubao, and then Dark Passage. What the hell is Dark Passage? Do you know?
No clue. Not a clue.
Dark Passage. Is this Turkey?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I only see the list of the top 10 teams.
Team of Turks. Yeah, no, Team of Turks, which is cool. We don't have a lot of Turkish teams going on. TNC Pro Team, Filipino stack does great. Infamous actually did really well this tournament, and we're pretty impressive, honestly. They're Peruvian, right? I'm not incorrect on that.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, all right. And and then we have Max Y, and this is another Chinese team.
That I don't know.
Yeah, another Chinese team. Cool. All right, so those are the teams. And then tournament starts off. You got Infamous doing well, going through. Cloud9's going through. Alliance doing pretty decent. TNC too, but it seems like kind of the players who got, you know, first in their group, that was pretty consistent that they were some of the better ones. Although to be or not to be, lost to Infamous, which is pretty cool. Infamous beating the, you know, group stage winning Chinese stack is pretty good. Chinese very, very densely populated in terms of their talent, and Peruvian Dota, you know, often mocked, but it's good whenever they can actually kind of bite back. So I'm glad to see Infamous doing well here. And then they go up against Cloud9 and drop 2-1. I'm pretty sure these were pretty good games if I'm remembering correctly. And then Alliance versus TNC. Alliance drops down, winning 0 games to TNC, and TNC pulls it out. And then they get to the finals, and you have how would you say this? Are they the new Imperial or the old Imperial? The new Cloud9.
They're the old Imperial. Now they're Cloud9.
The old Imperial. Thank you. All right, that was very difficult for me. Yeah. Anyway, these Cloud9 TNC games, those were good, right? I'm like having some of these games are kind of like blending together.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the 10th place tires were all Dubao Young, SG Esports, Team Dialcom, and To Be or Not to Be. Dubao and To Be being the Chinese representation there. SG from Brazil, like you mentioned, and Dialcom being the Peruvian team. 4th place was Infamous, the other Peruvian team that managed to do pretty well. They took home 4th with 60,000. Alliance came in 3rd for 200,000. Cloud9 snagged 2nd with 400,000, losing in the grand finals to the TNC Pro Team, which took home a whopping 800,000.
Yeah, and that's
a bad
super
tournament.
Cool. I love that TNC is doing well. There's always this kind of fear whenever a team does really well in a tournament that we're kind of unexpected to do as well as they did, like TNC at the last TI. At TI6, they got 7th, 8th. They took home a bunch of money. They took down some really good teams, and they took home like 500K. And then Demon left, and then let's see who also left. Demon left, AU left, and Raven left. So they just had like 2 of their players left, or 2 of their players remaining. And then after Raven and who is it? Raven and oh no, it was just Raven who came back. Okay, so Raven came back, and then they got Tims and Rior. Yeah, so they got Tims and Rior, and they're back together. Like they've got their shit together again, and they're doing well. So I hope that they don't just kind of like have the one good TI performance, lose 3 players, and then bomb out. They get one of their top players back, and then they reform, and they're back into it, putting out good performances. So I'm hoping this gives them the confidence to continue on a more international stage.
So I've got a question for you.
Okay,
and I hope you can answer it. So, we're looking at WESG and, a prize pool of 1.5 million. Yeah, like I said, the 20th biggest esports tournament ever. And we see, I recognize Cloud9, I recognize Alliance, I recognize TNC, I recognize those top 3 finishers. But then I look at ESL1 Genting, which we talked about last week.
Genting, please.
Genting, oh, excuse me.
Shit together.
So Genting features the teams we all know. I mean, it's the top tier teams. DC takes it. Yeah. Newbie comes in second. Virtus Pro, Wings round out the top 4 finishers. Even the small, and I say this in air quotes, the smaller teams are still names I know. Execration, NP, Fnatic, maybe Warriors Gaming Unity being the only team that as I look at the list of top 8 finishers at Genting, the only name I can't instantly associate previous, Dota 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
Why don't we see... why did we not see everybody that was at ESL1 Genting instead at WESG? I realize those 2 tournaments were close together, and so, maybe, you don't want to go from Genting to, hop on a plane, fly from Malaysia to China and, play... literally start playing the next tournament 6 days later. But why did we see the top tier teams playing in a $250,000 total prize pool as opposed to a 1.5 million? I haven't been able
to see any hardcore concrete information, but as far as I'm aware, this was a fairly nationality locked tournament. This was the best, you'd get your players from each country to play. Okay. That's why you have Team Ukraine, right? That's because Team Ukraine was made up of a player on DC, 2 players on Na'Vi, always want to fly in art style. It's not like Resolution left his team to play, and this was because DC isn't, and pretty much every team is full nationality except for the team that Bisa's on, which. I mean, hey, I don't actually understand how there's RMN is on Na'Vi but played on Fantastic 5. Maybe their nationality on Liquipedia isn't exactly perfect, but because Bisa, that's where Bisa lives, but I'm pretty sure he's not actually British.
It just seems strange to me. I mean, even considering that, we didn't see some of these bigger names, even in the bigger names coming to play, or you would think Wings. I mean, Wings is entirely Chinese. Every player on that team is Chinese. You would think as Wings, you would want to, and honestly, looking at that lineup, I can't imagine Wings not finishing in the top 4. At WSG. Yep. You know what I mean? It
may have been something of a timing thing. They may have regarded, maybe even because of that, maybe this isn't a tournament that's worth their time. But yeah, it is a little questionable. I don't know the exact rules behind who is allowed to play in this tournament, but it's definitely something of a result of the fact that the teams are more or less nationality locked.
For sure. Okay, well, yeah, I was curious.
I like the idea, obviously, saying that, no, okay, you talk, fine.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, if it were me, I'd be hey, sorry, DC, my name is Misery, and I'm gonna go play, with the Denmark team, with the Danish team. Hey.
But that's literally what Resolution did, right? So it seems fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool. It's nice to have a tournament like that where you root for your country or whatever. I don't know. It seems cool. I liked the tournament. I liked all these kind of lesser known stacks that ended up doing pretty well. But yeah, I couldn't actually tell you exactly why. Some of the Chinese teams didn't show up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But either way, It's what happened, and I like this tournament, so I don't mind.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity. So, so what else? What else we got on the docket that we got to talk about before we get going here, Mr. Proud?
Let's see. DAC still coming up. The qualifiers are starting soon for the other regions. There's Dota Pit. That's happening soon. God, is Dota Pit already? Yeah, on the 20th. Is that? Yeah, so that's in a few days. That'll be on Friday. Dota Pit is starting, and that's just an 8-team tournament. We got Elements, who a lot of people don't know that well, but there are some players that should be relatively familiar. Swift Ending is one of them. God, what is this? All right, so this is a majority Serbian team with one Croatian. But yeah, like Swift End, I've definitely heard a lot, so it's good to see they're getting somewhere. Elements, I think I remember kind of whenever any TI qualifiers pop up, they're always there as the name as a team that's going to do relatively decently, or ends up taking someone down that they weren't supposed to. So I'm looking forward to them getting a little bit more exposure and doing a bit more. DC is there, of course. OG Team Secret with their slightly reformed roster. They lost their offlaner. And now have Kezu, which is really cool. Kezu is an incredibly strong player, and it's going to be really interesting to see how well he does under a lot more, I guess, stronger and tried and true leadership of, with the Puppy and Pilot support duo to kind of frame his play. So I'm looking forward to him playing in like a more top tier team to see how well he does there. EG is going to be there. IG with Burning coming back as the carry is going to have kind of their first real major performance here. Faceless will be there with Black and Ice and all that business, and Virtus Pro seeing if they can reclaim their glory as one of the top teams in the scene, because they've kind of fallen down a little bit in terms of their performances at tournaments they're expected to win. So maybe now that the target isn't quite placed squarely on their head, I think they said they don't do too well with the pressure. So maybe after they've not finished first in a couple tournaments, they'll be able to kind of come into themselves again.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. Like I said, I'm a DC fanboy of late. So seeing DC, seeing EG, OG, Secret, like those are the teams I like watching. This is the Dota Pizza tournament I'm definitely gonna tune into, at least for those series. So. Well, it looks like we, assuming if DC can beat Secret and EG can beat Team Faceless, we might in the semifinals get an EG versus DC game again. So those are always fun. I love seeing NA versus NA.
Yeah, I think what we really want though is an EG versus Secret game, just to give that RTZ justice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Sure. I'm with you.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, I don't think Secret's going to beat DC. I mean, they have a new roster, right? Like. Well, at least one new player, and they haven't been playing games for a pretty long time. So we'll kind of see how that works out. Secret's always a kind of enigma on how they're going to do, right? Like,
yeah. They either blow everybody out of the water or they don't do anything. And
yeah, they're just kind of middling.
Yeah. Or they're out super early.
Invictus, though. Yeah.
So we've got that coming up. The rest of the DAC qualifiers. Any other big tournaments in the next couple of weeks?
No, I think that's, well, I feel like there's a big tournament every week, so looking that far in advance isn't exactly the best thing to do. But yeah, we've got mostly just the DAC qualifiers, and then when those end out, we're gonna have DAC actually happen, which is gonna be super exciting. I can't wait for that tournament. Honestly, last DAC was so cool and such a good, like, everyone. It felt like TI, like that was the thing that made the majors happen, right? Like DAC was so successful, like, wow, there was actually enough excitement for like a TI level event fairly often. So now we have the majors, and they're like 3, maybe a bit too much, but 2 is good. And since this the DAC is not actually a major, it doesn't really fit too hard into this like major fatigue we might have. Yeah. It's cool. I love the DAC,
and already man. It's going to be a good lineup. I mean, Newbie, OG, Wings, EG, all directly invited. Invictus qualifying, like you mentioned, LGD Forever Young is going to be there. IG Vitality. I don't know Team VGJ. That's
it's just one of the VG stacks or whatever, or not stacks, but like one of their V teams or whatever. I think which team? Who's on VGJ? I feel like they have 2 players that are
aggressive.
Like well.
Aggressive and Fenrir. Fenrir. Wow. Yeah, both of whom have. Hell, we've seen them firsthand. What they can, those bastards can do. Jesus, Fenrir.
Oh yeah, with ROTK. Yeah, dude, it's 5 Fenrir ROTK. It's like it's a top tier. Like this is the team that got third at or second at TI4, plus aggressive and this freeze guy. So they have.
I remember aggressive at TI5 in particular. Like he was blowing people's minds at TI5.
He radically shifted the way I play carry after watching that tournament. I was like, I am going to be aggressive now.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, he was playing with the C deck lineup.
Yeah,
That's right.
this is VG's like, I think this is their best team. I have to see what like actual VG is right now. Yeah, no, it's definitely their best team. I mean, they have like the VG without the little appending letter or whatever has like End, which is a fine player, Ori, whatever, Yang, good, HYM, don't really know anything about him. DDC is still a really strong player, but I am most excited for this RRTK team. I love RRTK. He is my favorite Dota player, I think.
You think?
So I just want them to do well, man.
All right.
I'm pretty sure because I mean I'm probably forgetting someone that I like even more than RTK, but
no, I'm excited to see that aggressive. Yeah, like I maybe my favorite story going into any TI that I've watched was the TI5 was the CDEX story, was seeing that wildcard team give EG a run for their money. You know, that was an amazing run that they had in that tournament.
Yeah, I mean I think that they were the better team that TI. It's just that EG was like, wait a sec, Shiki can't play Lesh. And then EG won because they're like, we don't have to ban Lesh. And then that was it. They're just like, you don't play Lesh this patch, you fucking lose. And they figured it out. Then that was that.
Yeah, that was a great damn tournament. All right. Well, we'll have all that looking forward to. You want to do an email real quick from a listener?
Sure.
So this is Brian B. I won't throw out his last name. He says, hello all, love the podcast. You guys do a great job, so thanks for keeping me sane on my commute. Thank you for listening to us on your commute. He said, I had a suggestion for the DotPro show. I work full-time and I'm doing grad school. Needless to say, I don't always have time to watch professional matches. It would be great if you could go over some of the highlights of recent pro tournaments, which I think we do to a degree and have here, and suggest games to watch through VODs on YouTube to catch up on. Thanks. Well, thank you for your email, Brian. And Proud and I were talking a little bit about this before the show. And probably the if you're wanting to watch something from a recent tournament, obviously you're going to target WESG. And we were thinking the infamous Cloud9 match, probably.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, that was the big match, right? That everybody was super hyped about.
Yeah, no, definitely those games.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it game 2 or game 3 that was so
game
good?
Game 3, yeah.
Game 3, okay.
Yeah, so if you could watch a series, watch that infamous Cloud9 series, and if you can only watch one game, maybe scope out game 3. And I mean, I guess a little bit of a spoiler, it goes to a game 3, but yeah, that was a great series. I remember seeing tons of tweets about that in my feed. Everybody was going nuts about that match. So I guess super back and forth and well worth watching. So.
A real wild and nutso experience for everyone.
Yeah, so check it out. You want to do a little random esports, obscure esports trivia?
Oh, sure.
I know you love this segment. It's your favorite one on the show, right?
It's the best one.
So Street Fighter V. Yeah, you remember that? You know that little gem?
Yeah, I'm well aware of that title.
That's right. That's not that obscure. They recently held the Capcom Cup 2016 towards the beginning of the year, or the end of the year, excuse me.
Okay.
Jesus. And the total prize pool for that was $360,000, the largest that we've seen in a Street Fighter tournament. Only 2 countries were represented in the top 8 finishers. Do you have any guess who those 2 countries might be?
Japan and the States?
That's correct.
I'm so fucking good at everything I do.
Yeah, damn, you're good. Yeah, so the United States and Japan actually represent the vast majority of Capcom's, or specifically Street Fighter V, world earnings. The top player actually basically the top player for top earnings ever in Street Fighter history is Knuckle Dew, who is an American player, and he's sitting on just over $250,000 in winnings playing Street Fighter V. And they played exclusively on the PS4, apparently. So, thought that was interesting. And Ricky Ortiz was the second place finisher, and also an American. 60,000.
Yeah, she's hella good.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, I think that's all I got for you. Japan, they
garbage.
Yep, they do other stuff. Japan, I was surprised to see I guess because of Dota, I always associate, if I think about like an Asian country that dominates a scene, I always think about China, and I keep surprising.
Well, it shows you from Dota, because if I ever think of an Asian country that dominates a scene, I think of Korea.
South Korea. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm with you. They're up there as well.
It's mostly north.
Yeah, just the north.
Yeah, they have the best players of every game ever. Did you know that?
I had heard. I actually heard that there was all one player in particular.
Just one person, some kind of God King leader.
Yeah,
that's
he's
just
the glorious one, I believe they called him. So
okay,
yeah. So all hail the glorious one, and I don't mean proud. Yeah, I got nothing else. You got anything else you want to add before we close this show out?
Yeah, give me a good or garbage. Like let me pretend I'm Ursinity. Give me one.
Good or garbage. Magic amp damage on Ember Spirit.
Good.
Oh, good.
I mean, it's very strong. I don't know what to say.
You see,
definitely a good one.
Ursi would say that that's garbage because it's too good. You see, Ursi, that's why it's fun to do with Ursi, is because he hates the things that are too good.
Well, I don't know. I think he'd probably say it's good and then have like a pending thing. Because I mean, he likes Ember Spirit. And
oh, okay.
Anyway, I just think a lot about what he likes.
Yeah.
So I can like better target, the way I develop myself to be more in line with what he wants me to be.
You're going to try to channel your inner Ursi, is what you're saying?
Yeah. I'd like Ursi to channel in me is more what I'm trying to say.
Hey, you do what you guys do on your own time is up to you.
Well, it's actually on your time because it's mostly during Theorycraft Thursday. Oh, okay. He doesn't really tolerate me outside of that context.
All right, fair enough. Well, it's because Ursi's a wise man, I heard. That's what I heard.
Wow. All right, are we done?
Yeah, we're done. I love you. I'm just kidding.
I hate you.
All right, I'm going to throw out our plugs. If you guys want to find us, we're at .p_show. That's on Twitter. And you can also send us our emails. Send us emails, your emails, just like Brian B. did, to defenseofthepatients@gmail.com. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all your favorite podcast apps where you can leave us a review. We went through and did the check of reviews from other countries, and we're so behind yet again. So if you are an international listener, we know that we're going through and we're setting the goddamn iTunes settings to pretend like we're from your country so we can find those reviews. And I swear we're going to come back and we're going to read all those on the shows in the upcoming episodes. A couple of some nice things to be said about you, sir. People like you. So that was nice, right? Yeah, that's good. It's good stuff. Yeah. Of course, you can also find us at defenseofthepatients.com. Donate to the show and get a replay review if you'd like from Mr. Proud Dota himself. Just go to patreon.com/defenseofthepatients. You donate $20 and he'll do a replay review. Let's see. Click through the Amazon banner at defenseofthepatients.com if you want to support the show and not spend any money. Like I said, leaving reviews is a really great free way to support the show. It really helps us to get visibility on iTunes. Yeah, that's all I got. Oh yeah, our Defense of the Patients is where you can find us as well if you want to comment on things on Reddit. Been catching up there. Had a really nice exchange with a listener actually, just barely through Reddit. But I forgot his username, so I'm not going to be able to shout him out. But thanks. It was a really civil, awesome discussion where he had a huge disagreement with a statement we had made previously on a podcast. But he's a nice guy. And he wrote in, and we had a really pleasant exchange. So we always enjoy hearing from you guys. We really appreciate it. So anything else you want to add, Proud? This is your show. You have to close it. You got to say the last thing.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Goodbye.